Hi, today we're going to be working on a few of these Ipe and brass lined wedding bands, rings. They made out of 464 lead-free brass liner, and then giving a little more strength to the Ipe wood, which is a little brittle without the liner. First couple made with just the wood didn't seem to work out so well. So I'm going to show you how I do it. The first thing we do is we start out with a 1-inch piece of brass, and then we'll center drill it out, and then machine it to size. So here you go. This is my old Craftsman Atlas lathe. It's not the finest piece, but it gets the job done for these little hobby projects like this. Now that I've got it drilled out, I'm going to bore out the center of it to size. I've got these sizing rings. This one's going to be a 9.5. Over 3/4 of an inch. Just check again and remind myself. 769, 766. 766. Then I'll cut down the outside diameter. This outside diameter I haven't really have like a thickness. I just kind of get it so it feels right. Each one's a little different. I'm going to chuck the liner in again, but just make it easier here. So I'm going to take another pass on that inside to get that cleaned up a little bit better. feel like a little ridge in there. That's better. The problem with this machine, you try driving it hard and it just starts moving. So I'll put the ring liner back in here and make sure I can get it square in here. The 3 jaws not very straight, so it comes out of alignment here. Don't want to squish it too hard; it'll get it out of round. That sharp edge off. That's better. Let's take a piece of sandpaper to it. That's good. So we got our the wooden ring part. It was hole sawed that on the drill press. Then we'll chuck it in the lathe here and turn it down, turn up, and bring the inside out. Try to get it straight. My lathe isn't a new 3-jaw chuck, but it works for now. Well, let's drill out the center to something I can get the boring bar in there in. And then I'm trying not to turn my to send the drill all the way down inside there, but I'm afraid it's gonna. I want to have some meat back here for the jaws to grab onto. Take all my strength away. Just gonna face off the end, give a nice clean surface. When you start getting close, you can try to see if you can get the liner in. It's almost there. I'm getting good at guessing his diameters. So yeah, just clean out one more pass to get that so it slips in there nice, so a little room for epoxy. A little slower on that pass to make the finish a little bit nicer. See, it's in there really nice. Not too tight, but tight enough that gets some epoxy to hold it in place. And A little bit of room for the epoxy to grow. And now we'll turn down the outside diameter to what we feel is a aesthetically size, and not too big. You don't want to keep your fingers spread, but you don't want it too weak either. I'd rather have this bigger, or thicker I should say, and then the brass liner really adds a lot of strength to this, and I don't want to have it too weak that it's going to break when I'm face cutting it off or we're using it. Once I epoxy the liner in, then I have a lot more flexibility as to reducing the size, and I'll show you how I do that after, when I sand it down to just the size. And there, it popped off. Break some of the edges off, but and the liner in. Wood's a little wider than the liner, but that's alright. I sand it down and get it flush before I put it on the final cutting process. So now we're going to glue the liner in with some epoxy. Just put some tape down to keep my granite clean. Always mix up too much epoxy, but I'll have more than enough. I just put a little epoxy inside the ring. Make sure it's evenly coated in there, or not necessarily evenly, but fully coated, I guess. And then you just slide the liner in the ring and get it so it's like halfway centered on the ring. Make sure there's epoxy on, at least on the lips here. The liner's trying to flip out. And we just let it set, and we'll come back to it. These they say it's like a half hour just for this epoxy set up for you start working with it again. And now I've got the, it's hardened up a little bit, but now 2 hours later, I'll just take a knife and just shave off some of that epoxy on the inside before it gets hard. Doesn't have to be perfect because we'll be on the sandpaper in there to shave it up nice and smooth. But this way it doesn't gum up the paper. I'm going to use some of the sticky back DA paper. Stick it on my flat surface. And just Sand it until it gets so nice. You see that it's sanded down onto the brass. Like that. This side obviously hasn't been done yet, so we'll sand that lip off. It goes down pretty quick. But it does go through the paper pretty fast. You can see it's starting to get to it. A little more pressure on this side, and we'll get there. Yeah. So now it's down to the brass. Now we'll bring it over to the lathe again. Now, so the inside is smooth, but it's not perfect yet. And like I said, I need to take that, the rest of that epoxy and smooth it out. So before I shape down the outside of it, I'll just lightly chuck it in my, put in my chuck here, and I don't want too tight. I don't want to crack it at all. And use a piece of sandpaper real quick. Just, it's not going to take much. Get about getting your finger caught in there. Just get that edge off, make it round. The other side. You can tell the difference. Nice finish on it, and this still has a sharp edge on it. So yeah, I won't tighten it in too tight, just enough. Yeah, that's looking pretty decent. Nice smooth edge, so it's not going to be rough on your finger. So now I bought this ring sizing gauge, and you know you're supposed to be able to stick your ring on here and then find out what size you have. But the problem is I need a way to truck it and truck my to hold the rings when I'm working on them without having to, you know, to grab from the inside and damage them. So what I do is I just put this ring sizing gauge in here, tighten it up in the lathe. I just slip the ring in. We needs to be, and then I can work on it. Now, of course, unfortunately, my lathe, like I said, my 3-jaw is off a little bit, so there's a little bit of wobble, but all my work on the ring now is done just by hand or with file when I'm spinning it, so it's the tool, your hand, or if you want to call it that, is moving with the piece. If I tried to use the lathe tools, it would make it off center, so that's alright. I'll just quickly give it some shape. And every now and then when it's getting these lumps off, it's so that's looking pretty decent. You can sand it, but I'm going to use the file now and just round off the corner. Yeah, little spot there. I think it's come off with the sandpaper. So I just start with a 120 and work my way, a 180 and work my way down. Yeah, it's looking better. There's another little grain difference in it. I guess they're all a little, being a natural product, they're all a little different. Yeah, you can really see it. Really neat. All the grains and all the patterns. I'll finish it up with extra fine steel wool. And there you have it. Looking pretty decent. So it's not too bad. Like in half-hour of work, you can come up with something like this. And it's wearing this one and it holds up to a lot. I use it. They can doesn't when it welds and everything, it doesn't, the spatter doesn't get stuck to it. And then every now and then, if you need to, you can just put it on and polish it again. So like this one has a little dull on it, so I can put it back in here. You obviously can just polish it by hand, but just when I get the lathe all set up. Well, it's a nice alternative to having like a silicone ring, which is not like a natural product, you know. It looks good and And nice people say you made something too. So how I'm making these rings. Hope you enjoyed it, and maybe encourage you to try building something on your own too. Thank you.